Okay, 5 technical problems that you need to fix on your website right now. Simply put, technical problems on your website just make you look cheap and incompetent. Now, clients can forgive you if your website's not all flashy and, the latest technology. But if things are just broken, it really takes away from your brand, and it's just one of those things that can build up to a prospect not doing business with you. It's kind of like having an unkempt office or a rude secretary. Just one of these things may not blow a deal, but having all of these things is going to make things harder, not easier for you. And the great thing is, I know a lot of people tend to just go to sleep when they hear technical problems, technical website problems. But interestingly enough, a lot of these problems are actually so easy to fix. Okay, and a lot of people don't actually even realize they have these problems. And technical problems usually boil down to 5 things. Okay, this is slow websites caused by big sliders and little big images, which I'll get into. Broken headers, missing security certificates, incomplete tags, and broken forms. And unlike the things I mentioned before, like having an office that's not clean or not following up on prospects, on the internet, if you have these problems on your website, you won't even know that you had a chance with a prospect, because when people aren't happy, when people don't trust your brand and they see these little mistakes, they just click away, and you don't even know that you even had an opportunity in the first place. And the only reason I say that is because you have no idea what's possible when you actually fix these problems. So let's get to it. Number 1, big sliders and little big images. Now, this is to do with website speed, and when I'm talking about a slow website, I'm not just talking about a crappy experience for the client. They're waiting for your website to load. It's a little bit like, come on, It also really impacts your Google rankings. Okay, this is a very important factor in your Google rankings. Now, with clients that I've worked with, just fixing the page speed, just fixing that one factor has led to an increase in revenue of 36%. Okay, so it's really potentially very powerful. Now, most real estate websites don't actually audit and test their website speed like ever. They get their website delivered by their web developer. They jump on the site from their fast computers in their office and they think, hey, this is pretty good. It doesn't seem slow to me. And they just approve it and go on their way, okay? And they never really realize just how unoptimized their websites are and how much of a difference it can make. Now, there's a lot of reasons for slow websites, but when it comes to real estate sites, there's only really 2 main issues that come up. The first one is having unnecessary sliders on the homepage. And the second reason is unoptimized images. So with unnecessary sliders, there's a lot of real estate websites that have like 7 sliders on the top of their homepage, okay? And a lot of times these sliders actually need to be loaded up before the content underneath can be shown. Now, even taking speed out of the picture, okay, sliders actually offer no practical benefit to the prospect, because people on the internet, their attention spans are so short that nobody's gonna sit there and wait for your 7 or 5 or 4, however many sliders you have to go through on your homepage. They're gonna land on your homepage, they're gonna look to where they need to go, and they're gonna click on them, okay? They're not gonna wait. And this is an example of one website. You can see the sliders moving along from one image to the other, and it's actually taken up quite a bit of space, decreasing the Google rankings visible in search results. Also, sliders actually, what they do is they diffuse the focus of your website. Okay, so now the prospect's like, where should I go? And if you have like 4 sliders with like different links to different properties you've just sold, the prospect is confused. Like, where do I go? It kind of diffuses the focus. And when you give the prospect too many options to click on, the prospect can get overwhelmed, and it actually takes them off the critical path to actually become a customer. Now, the next issue is unoptimized property images. So what happens is, and I see this on real estate websites, is I'm sure perhaps you have like a recently sold section on your homepage, maybe a recently listed section on your homepage, and you might have a slider of that kind of lists the last 12, 13, 14, 15 properties you've sold, or maybe more. And what a lot of real estate agencies don't realize is that the images that they use, okay, are actually these huge images. So even though they're small on the website, the file that's being used to display that is actually like this big, okay, like this big. And what their website is doing is just making the file smaller, but it's still taking just as much to load. So what ends up happening is that going to the homepage of your real estate agency, as an example, is actually the same as opening up all 15 or all 20 recently sold properties, because it actually gets the big images from those pages. Okay, so this is a big problem, and again, this is another thing that slows your website down. And this is an example. You can see you've got 4 images here, and each of these images is like a big image. It's 250 kilobytes. This example is actually not one of the more egregious ones, but you can imagine, if you have like a slider, okay, it just increases the load. So if a client is looking at your website from a mobile phone, you're draining a lot of their data. They may not be in a 4G area. And again, even if that's not the issue, you're still being penalized by Google. So you need to fix these issues and fix your page speed. Number 2 is missing security certificates. Now this one is so easy because you don't even need a web developer to fix this for you. So you know what an SSL certificate is? That's just the green padlock that you see in the top left-hand corner. Like if you go to Amazon right now to buy something, you'll see a green padlock in the top left-hand corner. And all this is doing is just notifying the website that the website is secure, it's authenticated. Now, if you don't have a security certificate, then your website is going to say not secure right next to your business brand name in your website. Okay, so think about this. How are clients going to feel when they type in your website name and the first thing they see is, hey, this website is not secure? Now, the client doesn't know what that means, right? Most prospects don't even understand what does not secure mean. But do you really want that to show next to your website? Is that really the best first impression that you want to make when people land on your site? So this decreases trust, and the way to fix this really easily is just pick up the phone, call your website host and say, hey, I want you to install a security certificate on my server. Now, most reputable hosts will install a security certificate on your website for free. Okay, so it's not going to cost you anything. It shouldn't cost you anything. Some of them do try to charge, but they really shouldn't, because like every host that I use, it just comes pre-installed and it comes as part of the package for hosting. Okay, so this is a really easy fix, and you can test this out on your website. You can go to your URL now and see if this is coming up. Number 3 is incomplete Google tags. Now, when I say missing tags, I mean you're missing title and missing description tags. Okay, if you don't have these or they're not filled out correctly, it's really going to decrease the click-through rate, because this is the information that Google uses to display your Google listing when people search like real estate agents in your area. Okay, it's what people see, the title and the description. You can actually change that to what you want it to be. So even if your website's fast and you've got a lot of people linking to you, if you have no description tags, no title tags, or bad title and description tags, your brand gets devalued immediately. You're making a bad first impression. And also, if you don't grab the prospect's attention, you're actually going to decrease the click-through rate, and Google actually uses, and the click-through rate is how many people actually click on your ad. And so that's just going to make you drop further on Google. And also from a prospect's perspective, these days people are beginning their property search online. So home sellers are looking for people that understand the internet. So if they see that your website doesn't have optimized Google tags, they're going to ask themselves, like, how can this person sell my property if they can't even get their own internet stuff working, right? Make sense? This is an example of one particular real estate website. This is actually what happens when you don't have any title tags. So when you just don't have any tags at all. And so what you can see is for the title, instead of having a title, it just actually repeats the domain name. So when you don't have a title tag, what Google will do is it'll just take your domain name and it'll put it right there in the title. okay? So that's not good. And then underneath, you'll see it says developments, our services. So what it's doing is it's actually, rather than talking about how you help prospects in this case, what's happening in this particular case is that Google is taking the first text it sees on the website, which is just the menu for most websites, right? That's the first thing at the top of the homepage, and it's just putting that in the description. If you don't have title tags, if you don't have description tags, what you're basically saying to Google is, Google, you can write anything you want in there. Okay, so Google makes a decision of what they want to put. Now, if you were creating a letterbox drop, okay, to people in your neighborhood, would you create a letterbox drop with just like your website and then menu, about, sales, and then just put it in people's letterbox? Of course you wouldn't. That's silly. But that's what you're doing when you don't have title and description tag. People aren't even going to give you a look because they're just going to scroll right through. And it's so easy to fix. Again, adding tags is very quick, very easy. And also you want to make sure that the description communicates your unique value proposition, what makes you different. So you don't want to just say we sell homes, you want to make something that stands out, that's memorable. You want to have something that grabs attention. The fourth issue is broken headers and humongous spaces. Now, headers are like the top section of your website, okay? And this is where you put your menu, your home, your about us, contact, your social media links, your phone number, things like that. Now, the two biggest issues I see with real estate sites is, so the two main issues I see with real estate sites is, number one is just confusing navigation. Okay, it's just confusing for the prospect to get to where they need to go. And the second issue is just being way too big. When I say way too big, if you have a look at this example, okay, you'll see that the header, okay, this actually takes up literally almost half of the page. Okay, is literally taken up by this big header with this big logo. Now the client is coming to your website. They want to find out, how can you help them? Can you help them? Things like that. They want to find out information about you, read about what you do, and how that connects to them. And they've got this big header in the way, right? Which is taking up like half of the website. So not good. And also it makes people annoyed. They're kind of like, oh, this is annoying. You don't want people to feel that annoyance when they come to your website and associate with you. Like the annoying person, like, oh, he's annoying, Now the other issue with headers is confusing navigation. And sometimes your website can actually look really good from first glance, but if the prospect is getting confused about how to get to where they need to go, your navigation has failed. So let me show you an example. So here's a website and it actually looks really good. Everything looks fine. The problem is there's no top menu, okay? And you'll see that the menu is actually on the right-hand side. There's like a 3-dot thing, which is similar to a menu that you have on when you see a website on a mobile phone. People on a desktop though are not used to like going there and clicking. And not only that, for the person to have to go there and click to view your menu, it's just extra work. It's confusing and it's also putting extra work on the person instead of just having the menu at the top. If you actually click those 3 lines, you'll come up with a menu, and then like on the left there's like the address and the phone numbers, which is a really unconventional place to put that information. So when if you're building your site and you're trying to kind of differentiate yourself in your design choices, there's things that you can do to be creative, but one place you don't want to be creative is your navigation. You want to make that aspect predictable. You want to have that where people are used to seeing it. Okay, no one's gonna appreciate and say, hey, I'm really glad I went to this website. They had their menu in such a unique, different way. Nobody's gonna say that. They're always just gonna be annoyed. Okay, the next technical problem is forms, hidden broken forms. Now, when it comes to forms, there's a whole theory about how to create forms that really get you appraisal appointments. But just when we're talking about technical problems, there's 2 things that I see on real estate websites, okay? Required, non-required fields, if that makes sense, and also non-asynchronous forms. Now, an asynchronous form just means that the user can fill out the form without having to refresh the whole page. It's just a quicker experience. And so this is an example of an asynchronous form, okay? You type in the details, you click submit, and then bang, it's sent, right? The whole page doesn't have to reload. Now, the second issue is required fields. Now, what do I mean by this? And I'm gonna give you a practical example. So let's say you have a form and you have the name, and you ask the person for the name, the phone number, their email, and a message, right? You need to ask yourself and really think about, from a sales perspective, which form fields are required in order for the prospect to move forward. Now, I see a lot of forms where no fields are required. Like literally you can just submit the form without filling out any fields. Sometimes you can just enter in your name and submit the form without providing any contact details. If you have a form like this, it's a big problem. Now, one thing that can happen is somebody can actually contact you, provide their email address, and just say a message, but not give their phone number, okay? Now, it depends on how you approach prospects, but I would say if a prospect is not willing to give you their phone number, I've learned this from experience, and you probably know this from experience. If someone's not willing to give you their phone number when they're inquiring, they're probably not gonna trust you enough to sell your home, okay? So what I would do is I would actually have the name and the phone number field required, okay? And so make sure you have those fields required, because otherwise it's just going to give you a lot of headaches emailing, tire kickers back and forth, So non-required fields. By the way, just some other fields that you should have: the property address. Make sure you ask for the property address, okay? Because if you have the prospect's property address, now you have information that you can do some research and actually follow up on them. And you also want to find out when they plan to sell, okay? So if someone's like, hey, I want to sell as soon as possible, that's a hot lead, and you're not going to call them and they're not going to be like, oh, I don't know, I'll think about it. They want to sell, okay? So it helps you to prioritize your leads. Now with Upside, which is a website I really like, they don't even have a contact us section. Okay, with Upside, they just have request a callback. So if you want to contact them, they just say, okay, what's your number and when do you want us to give you a call back? And this is a way to control the sales process. Okay, so instead of people just asking you like all these random questions and then going back and forth for 3 months, it's like, hey, you want to work with us? Let us know when we can call you and we'll have a chat. Okay, so, and then once you get on the phone, you can answer all those questions and then qualify prospect. So that's the 5 technical issues that I see on a lot of websites. A lot of these, as you can see, are very quick and easy fixes, but they're going to make a big difference. Okay, so broken forms, asking the right questions, making sure that form fields are required, that it's easy to submit the form, making sure your website's fast, it's easy to navigate. What else? The images aren't too big. You got that security certificate, so you're building trust. And if all of these things are working together, if your website is a breeze to use, that's going to reflect on your service. The person that's going to come to your website, when you actually get on the phone with them, they're going to be in such a good mood because they're like, okay, this is an easy company to work with. Whereas if everything's broken and it's like not secure, don't trust, prospects kind of like, oh, is this going to be another headache? So, okay, thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye.